do we have to do anything to? It's not right away. Okay, I'll just give it signal then. Right.
So you need it shown right away?
Fairly soon into it, so.
Then that's me, but she'll be clicking each slide.
Okay.
I have to know that.
So it'll just be a generic screen until I guess so, yeah. Okay. Hi, my name is Ellie. Most of you know that already. I've been called a lot of things before. I have been called a rabid man-hater. I've been called I've been called a heartless cunt. I've been called beyond militant. I once had a fairly outlandish, crude person asked if I wanted to shit on their face, because apparently I want to shit on men's faces. These are things that people have said to me because I am a feminist. And I identify as a radical feminist, and, you know, it's just a set of strongly held beliefs that I have. I think most of you that have had conversations with me know I can talk about a fairly wide array of topics. So I just want to, you don't have to be afraid of feminists. And I would like to give you a few simple phases in how you can talk to a feminist and have it be a productive conversation. First step is just approach the person in question. Oh yeah, this is what people might be afraid that feminists look like. It is, by the way, a fantastic graphic novel series. So anyway, yeah, that is generally not what I look like. Maybe after a really bad day. Anyway, there are three simple phases. First one is the approach, and it's going to sound like this is kind of basic stuff, but you know, I sometimes think people need to be reminded, because I've had some very strange conversations with people as soon as they find out I'm a feminist. So the first one is, don't be afraid to talk to me like I'm just another person. I'm not, you can go ahead and change. This is what most feminist discussion groups that I've ever been in look like, maybe more wine coolers. But this is generally what we're like. We're not, you know, going to be hanging outside of bars waiting to castrate men. Don't worry, we're not like that usually. Then the other step is just, you know, just say hi, just a greeting. It's, you know, basic step, and people seem to forget that. You know, they automatically want to just like start in with like, so you believe this, right? It's like, just greet me first. I'm a human being like you. Let's just establish some basic, you know, conversation with each other. Second part then is once you finally get to the conversation, oh, you can put it back. Okay. Once you finally get to the conversation, like, just pick a topic to talk about. We can talk about any number of things. Like, I can talk about what the weather's like. I can talk about sports teams a bit. A bit. I know the Chargers won last time around something, so I can talk about that kind of. We can even talk about theory if you want. We can talk about how bad your taste in music is. We can talk about any number of things, really. And let's just talk about something casual. You know, the majority of conversations with feminists have nothing to do with feminism. I mean, I talked with a whole bunch of people earlier today, and aside from the parts when we were specifically talking about feminism, we're talking about, you know, what we do recreationally without going into details, and other things like that. So, you know, I'm just a human being, you're a human being, let's just talk. Next step is, and you can turn it now, I've probably heard it before. Whatever your, you know, grand joke or jab or whatever it might be is, I've heard it before. Most feminists have heard it before. If I don't think it's particularly funny, it's because I've heard it like 100,000 times and it stopped being funny 100 times ago. It's kind of like, who here works in retail? Just rhetorical question. I know probably a lot of you have worked in retail. How many of you have rung up an item and it ends up showing like, it doesn't want to ring up first time, right? And the customer says, oh, it must be free, right? How many of you still laugh at that, like seriously? And how many of you just kind of like stare back, like, okay. Like, seriously, like, I've heard all kinds of attempts to shock me or whatever, and at this point, they're just tedious, which is why I'm probably not going to find it funny. It's not that I don't have a sense of humor. It's just tedious, when you hear the same things over and over. People aren't generally as original as they think they are. Yeah. And then next, if we are talking about feminism or some topic like that, I might know things about feminism that you don't, and that's okay. It's not, we have this strange thing for people who study social sciences. We tend to, the more they study it, the less we tend to trust them. It's strange. If I want to talk about chemistry with somebody, I'd rather get the information from somebody who's been studying chemistry for 10 years, has a PhD in the topic, than somebody who doesn't know anything about chemistry. So I'm not sure why we always want to discount the words of people studying social sciences, whether it's women's studies, whether it's race studies, ethnicity studies, etc. So it's okay that we have different knowledge, and I'm willing to work with that as well. I might use lingo that is unfamiliar. It's okay. Just let me know. So I can explain it if I need to. I don't expect everybody to understand what patriarchy means, what liminal spaces are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's high-level theory sometimes, and I know that I can get carried away, and many other feminists might get carried away. So just stop and ask us if you don't understand what we're saying. You can turn it. Please don't be condescending. As I said, once again, we're humans. We don't like being treated like jerks. Going on with the whole joke thing earlier, people will try to go on with long, extended jokes, especially hilarious ones about rape. And I don't like those. Those make me uncomfortable. If I ask somebody to please stop, it means that they're making me uncomfortable. It's not that I'm trying to abrogate their First Amendment rights. It means that I'm being made uncomfortable. So I generally am not going to get along with people who are going out of their way to make me uncomfortable. And I think most people act like that. And I think it's a fairly reasonable thing to not get along with people that are trying to make you uncomfortable. So, yeah. So hopefully at this point, you've had a decent conversation. Maybe you've learned some things. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you agree. Maybe you disagree. But it's okay. Just, as I said, the main thing is just relate to each other as human beings first. And the ideologies can come second. And the final phase is the exit strategy. Is once you've finally had this conversation, you may think, well, this is interesting. I want to learn some more. There are lots of resources that most feminists can give you. And sometimes, but the key is to not just demand that you get all the information from them. If they ask you maybe go research something, you can go do that. So ultimately, as I said, there are a few steps to it, and it all sounds kind of common sense, just have a basic conversation with another person. But as I said, people have said very strange things. They've responded in very strange ways to me before. So I hope that kind of gives you, a general sense of I'm just another person, just talk to me as you would anybody else.